going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. Every time I get an opportunity to be able to record these episodes, I have amazing opportunities to be able to do it with guests, many of whom I have never met in person, but they have, if not an equal love for what I want to do, a similar idea for the message that they want to convey. And this is no different. The gentleman that I have here, he's a wildly successful entertainer. He is an author, he is an actor, a writer, a director, a musician, a podcast host. Some of his notable works with his literary background is How to Sell Out, as well as Black Magic. We also have this gentleman who has he's worked with HBO, he's worked with ABC. I don't know if I want to talk about BET, might be a little bit of a topic.
No, it's
But
all good. Anything. We can talk
yeah,
about anything.
okay, cool. BET, Direct Deposit is what his podcast host is, and he has a resume. Let's just put it that way. Also, some of the people I want to note that that I've heard that you work with people like Will Packer, as well as Issa Rae, Morgan Freeman, Spike Lee, Julie Bowman, just to name a few. So you've been around, man. But my biggest thing that I'm curious about, before I jump into anything, is the start. You worked in tech for Google, and just not even putting the color coat over it as a minority, but what was that like being in an environment where you really weren't one of them?
Complicated, complex. Working at a big company like that right out of college changed my perspective of industry. It changed my perspective on myself. It changed my understanding of how big could get when you're building something. Google specifically, and this was a moment in time when Google was thought of as the best place to work. I think it had won 4 out of 5 years Time Magazine's #1 best place to work in the world. And so I came into what was, if you're ever like driving through a tunnel and you have the windows open and there's that wind going through both sides of the window, and so it makes this like woof, 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 woof sound. That's what it felt like being a 22-year-old launching off the East Coast from Atlanta, Georgia, where I went to college. I'm originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, into Silicon Valley at the boom, the height of like Google, Facebook, and then all these startups, Amazon, and then all these startups that were popping up all over the place. It was like being thrown into the most disorienting, exciting, and also in some ways daunting and scary landscape. And for me, as a young black kid coming out of Morehouse College, I mean, I can't even say I had to like take a second to get my bearings. There was no time for that. It was like you're thrown right into the fire. You got to learn how to be successful at your job. You also got to learn how to match the corporate culture here, which is very confusing. It's like Stanford meets. It's like a Stanford frat house meets like the nerdiest nerd club meets like the show industry, basically.
Yeah.
It's confusing, it's disorienting, and I drank it down with a straw. I was excited. I was like, this is so cool. This is so different from college. And it took me a second for it to hit me how steep of a learning curve I was going to have culturally, because I was not used to being around these particular types of white people. So it was very confusing for me.
I think was ironic about situations like that, right, is you go into college, and maybe not you, the proverbial you, right? You go into college, you get your education, you follow behind maybe what you've seen family do, or maybe your family or the members who like pushed you to go to school. But you in your heart of hearts knows that I don't know if I really gel with this. But you try to fake it till you make it, or maybe you code switch or whatever the case may be, and you don't really fit in. And for you, what was that pivotal moment that you were like, I'm out. Entertainment industry, here I come.
Well, I didn't jump straight from Google into the entertainment industry. What happened was I worked for 1 year in Silicon Valley. Then I transferred to New York. And when I transferred to New York, just being honest, I started taking work a lot less seriously. I was, the New York office, the setup in Silicon Valley is different from New York. In Silicon Valley, I lived in Oakland, and then you gotta travel like an hour every day. You commute on this bus with Wi-Fi down to the headquarters, which is like down in Mountain View, California. In New York, the office was in Chelsea. I lived in the West Village. So I woke up and walked to work every single day, which was like a, 15, 20-minute walk, which is to say I'm living in one of the most vibrant, pop-in places in Manhattan. The office is 15 minutes away. I have a little bit of money in my pocket. I have a cool job. I'm 23. Actually, the first place I lived when I moved there was Soho. And so you couldn't tell me that I wasn't like, my job felt like to party. I worked in recruiting and people ops anyway. So a lot of my job was about, being social, being in front of people. And so whereas I was completely lost in Silicon Valley when I lived there, when I moved to New York, I got lost in New York. I was like out, I went out all the time. I lived in a tiny little apartment, so I didn't really want to be there anyway. I was going up to Harlem where some of my friends lived. I was running around Lower Manhattan. I would get home at 3, 4 in the morning and then try to be back at the office like 10:30 the next day. So I stopped taking work seriously, if I'm being honest. I stayed here for a year, went to London, again, internal transfer. So I was like really now leaning into an adventure for myself more than I was taking work seriously. Came back to New York, and then I was like, you know what? Now I am ready to take work seriously, but I don't want to do it here because I'm lost here. I'm a small little cog in a huge machine. And so I jumped into the startup world is what I did. I went and started working at a tech startup called Dev Bootcamp that only had about 20 employees at the time when I got there. And now I was like at the ground floor of something. It was based on Wall Street. And so that was my intermediary step before I took the full plunge into Hollywood, which didn't come for another couple years.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know that there's always a start. Someone, oh, bless you.
Thank you.
I think you sneezed. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, forgive me, but I didn't even introduce your name, man. That's how hype I got.
That's
It's
all
Chad
good.
Sanders, ladies
Yeah,
and
yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah.
There we go. But to kind of go back to what you're talking about, I think it's really important for people to know the beginnings and how it came to be because many people that go, especially on social media and how big it is now, they see this version of you. They see, dang, look at him. He has all these videos. He has a lot of great things to say. He keeps it real. He has this much experience. It's just so expansive. They don't know the struggle, and many people don't see what's done in the dark that comes into the light. And a lot of those 10,000 hours are a real thing.
Yeah.
And so to go into the work ethic, right? I mentioned earlier about being an author and an actor, a writer, director, musician, podcast host. So at what point, right, do you sit back and say, man, this, I did it, right? Or are you still at the point where you're like, I'm not quite there yet?
Oh man, I mean, so I'm 37. Like, in a lot of contexts, I am at the beginning of this thing. A lot of entertainers, writers, auteurs work until they are the people that I have learned from and look up to. Some of them are Spike 67, Morgan Freeman's probably 81. That's a long, let's say if I get the blessing to be able to work until I'm 70, 75, 80, like that means I got 30, 40 years ahead of me in this thing. So I honestly feel like I'm at the beginning. Now, what I will say, because I have a coach who always has to remind me of this, because a lot of what I do now is offering things I've learned to this point to other people who are trying to get forward in what they do. I do have to remember that in 9 years, which is where I'm at this point in this business, I have learned some pretty meaningful things about what it means to not just productize your art and get opportunities by doing it, but productizing your voice, your image, by learning how to sell things that cost a lot of money, TV shows, you sell a TV show, someone's making an investment of at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I've learned a lot about the selling process of B2B sales, basically. Now I'm learning a whole lot really fast about selling directly to consumers. You know, I gotta be honest, I almost never sit back and think like, oh my God, I did it. What I think more and more today is I am now taking what I learned in 10 years, I am jumping full stream into what looks like the future of the industry. And I am trying to make sure that I apply the artistic sensibilities that I learned from the last 10 years to the more fast moving, productized, bite-sized future of how we are treating media and entertainment. So, you know, I definitely never think like, oh my God, I've done the thing. What I think is I'm so glad I did what I did over the last 9 years, because now I have enormous opportunity in front of me. And so much of what's going to happen with that opportunity is just my own ability along with my teammates' abilities to execute.
Yes, sir. That the execution piece I think is important, because that's where I've seen, and not even just military lingual, but just like in business or in life in general, they don't execute. They get all the way here and then they don't execute, or they don't do it efficiently, and then it was all for nothing. And I can really respect you, Chad, man, and the story that I've learned about, and just in talking to you even before here, and you even giving somebody like myself an opportunity. I've talked to people who, or I've attempted to talk to people who have made it to a certain status, right? Like to me, everybody's human. It's just like in the military, dude. Like if you're a general and you got to go through all these people, to me, I don't. The rank stuff, that doesn't matter to me, man. The status quo, that doesn't matter to me. I talk to people that we're human beings, and I can appreciate people such as yourself who have a platform, who decide, you know what, I don't necessarily need to go to your platform, but I'm choosing to do it because I can respect the hustle. Like everyone, you mentioned Spike Lee, you talking him out. I mean, you didn't mention it just now, but in mentioning it in the past about running into Spike, and you kind of like, should I do it, should I not? And you actually did it. That's how I felt, man, when I messaged you, because I was like, dude, man, like I don't really get apprehensive like that, but when it comes to other people who have a platform, it's like my hesitation comes: are they going to give me a chance?
Right.
Like are they willing to just sit down and hear me out? Like my message is just to help the youth, to help and educate them and inspire them through my guests. It's the
Let me.
different.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you were going to land on a question there. Before you do, I just want to say something just to make something really clear. You already know this, but I don't want to lose this part of the story. The reason why I was willing to come on is because I know a big part of my job right now, at least half, is that every single day I need to produce a certain amount of content of a certain quality as fast as possible to continue to build the machine that I'm building. And so I put a message out that said, hey, if somebody is able to turn around high quality clips from a full interview to me within 48 hours, I will do their show. And you raised your hand and you were direct and you were confident, and I was able to go quickly look at your platform and see, okay, he is able to deliver this. And so I want to say that this is the message that I want someone to take away from this. The same thing happened with me and Spike. The same thing happened with me and Rap Shit, Issa Rae. The same thing happened with me and Morgan Freeman. Somebody needed someone to come in and do a job. And I had the ability to do that job and proof that I could do that job. And as much as we try to glorify, the celebrity and the ego and the glitz and glamour and the stars and all these things around this industry, what a lot of this comes down to at the end of the day is people need a job to be done. And if you can make yourself available to do that job and to be trustworthy in doing that job and to be fast at a high quality level, you're in. If you can get enough opportunities to reach people who have access, you are in. That's the message I want people to have. And so it's a pleasure to me to be able to come sit down with you. You already have the machine built. Otherwise, you're taking a lot of expenses off of my plate. I've produced a podcast for a year. That cost me, not even including my time, that cost me $3,000 a month. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm happy to come in here and get, however, even if I only get 5 clips out of this, it cost me an hour. I'm not going to make 5 clips in an hour by myself unless I'm really gunning it. So I just wanted to say that's why I'm here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's humbling to hear, man. Like it is a beast for sure, and it's a certain type of tenacity you just have to have the grit and determination that you need to have in yourself,
Yes.
because nobody is going to truly believe in the person unless you believe in yourself. And like, dude, like I mentioned before to a buddy of mine, to Jose Pichardo Jr., man, I was talking to Jose, and it's like, dude, I got it out the mud, man. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, I didn't grow up in the ghetto. I didn't grow up around the block. I wasn't exposed to that. My parents grew up around areas like that, and they knew they didn't want that for their children. So they moved us away from Boston and brought us down to Newport News, Virginia, which eventually turned into Baton News, Virginia, and they
Yeah.
moved us down to Georgia, to Noonan and Peachtree City, Georgia. And we definitely did well for ourselves, but this has been wonderful. So, to kind of get back on it, to what we were saying about taking chances on people and taking a chance on yourself. One of the things was that I had heard in the story was about not 106 Park, sorry, BET. You writing for BET, and
Mm-hmm.
that experience not necessarily going in the ways. How did you turn that experience from what can be perceived to be a negative experience to something lucrative and something positive?
Well, so to tell quickly what happened, the first TV pilot that I ever wrote was picked up by Spike Lee. Basically, I met Spike Lee sitting outside of a coffee shop, and I'll condense the story really quickly. But he is the person who took me out to Hollywood, took me into all the rooms, put me on my first class flight, taught me so much game just pitching to Netflix and HBO and Amazon and Hulu, and took me everywhere. But we were not able to sell the show, even though he was my executive producer. And he told me that on the way in. He was like, this is a tough business. Like, I don't sell everything that I take out. You're going to have to find a way. He was very specific to tell me just having me involved does not mean this is getting made. So at some point, I couldn't sell the show, and he had to go focus on shooting Black Klansman at that time. And so I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to go shoot a scene of that show. I spent my own money, about $4,000, hired a crew, got a director from my college to come and direct a scene of my show. And then my very next pitch meeting was to BET and showed them the scene in the room. We all watched it together, sold that thing like that. Like, they were like, don't sell this anywhere else. We got you. I got a contract, however many weeks later. And what happened after that is that, a lot happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I started having like quarterly breakfast with Scott Mills, who runs the network, BET. He's like the CEO of the network. I started, having more opportunities and to get into other rooms and things like that. But I had tunnel vision about, I'm going to get this show made. And, we hired a showrunner. We wrote a couple episodes of the thing together, and it didn't get made. And when I found out that it wasn't going to be greenlit, my agent called me and she was like, hey, they're not going to make the show. And I was crushed. I was sad. I was scared. I didn't have any money. I had been living off the money they were paying me to make the show, but it wasn't enough money to have a savings. And so it took me, I went to dinner with a friend who was like a dude that worked on Wall Street, guy I went to college with, named Garth. Shout out to Garth, and black man named Garth. And I was telling him, I was like, I was so embarrassed to tell him that like my show got, canceled. Because the way I saw it, I was like, I don't know what the I'm going to do now. And he was like, he was like, man, what? He was like, you sold a show. You met everybody that you need to know in the industry. You have a name now. You have a buzz. Like, dog, like, you can go make other stuff. He saw, and I don't want to give him too much credit because I don't know if this is what he was saying, but I will own what I think he was saying, which is he saw that in the process of that, I built myself as a brand, as a writer. And that today is as much a focus for me as anything else I do, is understanding that if I can build the brand of me as a writer, as a thinker, as a guest on shows, as a host, as an entertainer, as a creative person, I will have opportunity everywhere. And that today is what my goal is to build the brand so strong that when I want to make a movie, when I want to make a song, when I want to make another book, that there are people there who are waiting for it because they understand and they trust me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's perfectly said. And you brought me back to I forgot a group of people I was speaking with about brand building. And part of the things that I've learned even in being an author, writing and screenplays and everything aside, like as an author,
Yep.
especially when you're doing it as a self-published author, and hoping and praying to the Lord and to everybody above that somebody will buy my book, and it just doesn't work out that way. And then once I learned through the wise people who were willing to give you some knowledge that no, you got to brand yourself, man. That's pretty much not a secret, but that's a way in, because once you brand yourself and you get a following, then that's when it can become not easy but easier to do it. And I believe brand building to be paramount, because you can ask a person, hey, what does Nike stand for, or what is Tata, what is Walmart's slogan, or what is this, what is that. But if you asked them about themselves, they couldn't tell you their left hand from their right hand, because that's not like a focal point. And for you, with your experience, right, how important is it to brand build?
It's today at this exact moment. It's funny. I did a reel about this earlier that hasn't gone up yet, but I'll just tell the story here, right? So I have a friend named Chris Spencer who's like a mentor to me. He's about, I don't know, he's probably in his 50s. He's been in Hollywood for 40 years. Big time comedian, executive producer, show creator, all that, right? And he takes, sometimes he takes me around like Hollywood folk because he's very connected. And he took me to this event at Jamie Foxx's house, up in like out in the desert past Calabasas, like outside Los Angeles. And we get there and there's like, Jamie Foxx lives in a freaking palace,
Yeah, I bet.
he does, right? And we get there and there's like 50 black celebrities sitting in the foyer of his house. Like in this big, almost like an event room is what it looks like, but it's beautiful, like overlooking the desert and all this. And there's a private equity firm there, like representatives from a PE firm, and they're there to teach these celebrities who have been renting out themselves over the last 30, 40 years as entertainers. They're teaching them how to now mine themselves as assets to make money off of their personal brands, because that is the business today. People are confused. They think that the opportunity now is still to try to make and sell movies and TV shows. That is a business that you can do for fun as a hobby for 99.99999% of people if you can make it work. But to even call it a business is a misnomer. The business is to write your name on as many things as possible that people find to be of value, so that they understand, oh, Chad has this to say on direct deposit, but he also has this to say in his book, Black Magic. He also has this to say in his reels every day. That all starts to comprise a mosaic of a person. And now when something new happens in the news, that person wants to know, what does Chad think about that? Because I've been paying attention to how his mind works and I like it, and I want to know what he would see in this. When that person needs to watch a new movie, they want to say, what would Chad's vision of this particular thing be? It's like we're turning the dimension around on itself. And it's no longer that HBO, Matt, is the thing that we follow as a platform. We follow Issa Rae because she's the brand. We follow her wherever she takes her art. So it is everything today. It's everything.
I love that, man, and it's exactly the point that I was making when I was speaking to a few teenagers. Like earlier this year, I went to this writers conference called San Francisco Writers Conference. This is not sponsored by them, by the way, but I went there and I was doing the teen summit and I was speaking to the teenagers. A lot of them wanted to get started just in writing, and I really tried to make it a point of really understand and know your audience that you're writing to and writing for, and also understand who you are as a person. You don't want to write about something that you don't connect with. It could come across as disingenuous. You want to be somebody who's authentic to themselves. At the same time, you want to make sure that what you are representing is something that you can lock onto for the long haul, because that is what people are going to go. You can write a book about broccoli, cheese, and potatoes, and they'll buy it because they really dig who you are as a person. So I really love what you were saying about that, Chad. And so, to another point, Hollywood, right? So the notion of what I'm pulling from what you're saying is the gatekeepers is no longer a thing, right? So your time in Hollywood, right? How has that made you focus more on yourself as a no, I won't say as a brand, but as an independent thinker, someone who can make their own moves versus I need to go to Hollywood and hope and pray that they discover me.
There's been a few things that have been uncommon, I would say, in my Hollywood journey that I don't even necessarily want to take credit for them. A lot of things that happen in life are inertia. But I'll point one out, which is that I have stayed in New York City for my entire Hollywood journey. Every time I've gone, from going out, flying out, and spending 2 weeks being around Kanye and Kim Kardashian and Jamie Foxx, like just all writing for Grownish. Every time I have done work in Hollywood, it's been a visit. It's been going out there, either crashing on couches or getting a hotel for a couple days, doing my podcast with Julie Bowen from Modern Family. Like she offered me to stay at her place. I decided to stay at a hotel. I eat those expenses because I feel inspired in New York, and my nephews, my family, my home, my best friends, they're all on the East Coast. I never felt moved to go live in Hollywood or Los Angeles. And honestly, I think in watching the social lives, the interior lives of some of my friends who moved out to Hollywood disintegrate, watching them sort of fall apart, I have, even while having, career success, I have felt validated in that choice because I always have been able to keep a certain social distance from the monstrosity that is like what Hollywood does to your inner self. Now, along the lines of like independent thinking, you mentioned something that the gatekeepers have left, and I want to be really precise here, which is to say, it's not that the gatekeepers are gone altogether. It is that the gatekeepers have changed. There is a very specific formula right now in making anything famous or big. And that formula is quality creative times volume / frequency, however you want to call that. Quality creative times frequency times budget. Meaning, you make something good. You want to be able to make something good all the time, every day. That's the goal. That's the quality and the volume. But you also want to have a budget so that you can pay for the impressions to put that thing in front of people's faces as often as possible. I spend between $30 and $100 a day on ads right now. When this is up to scale, this business that I have, that number's probably going to be in the single digit to tens of thousands a day, because I want to make so much quality creative, so much good art, so much good content that is all over the place so that people are seeing my message, my voice, my ideas everywhere, every direction that they look, and then wondering, where can I get more? Where can I get more? So where does that leave the new gatekeepers? The new gatekeepers are either people who have controlled access to quality creative. I think of myself as somebody like that. Like, honestly, if somebody wants 10 fantastic clips today, they could get that from me in a heartbeat. It's easy. They could come to me, they could say, hey, here's my budget. I want 10 clips. What can you do for me? I would do it. That makes me a gatekeeper. There are the people so that's frequency and quality. And then there's the people who control budget. There are people out there who are looking for people like me and you to invest in because they understand the future of this industry lies in the creators. It just makes it a little different now so that the gatekeepers are not Harvey Weinstein like they used to be, even though he probably had the cash to be one. Now they're just people who are a little bit different. Honestly, Dave Portnoy is now a gatekeeper, right? He's got the platform, he's got the cash, he's got access to quality creative, however defined, and there's other people like that whose names we don't know because they don't have publicly facing brands, but there are still gatekeepers. They're just it's just easier to become one now than ever before. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And oh man, I'm getting the chills right now, man, because it's something to be said when you think about, and see, I'm 36, right? You mentioned earlier 37, and just
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the 90s, specifically in the 90s, and seeing the amount of creativity that was everywhere between how they advertise fast food, Happy Meals, and different prices in the $5 footlongs to Blockbuster and what they had going there in the movie theaters and the whole fiasco.
Right.
And that was being controlled. Of course, everything's being controlled, but now we're in a place where you can be the person that it can come from. And, I didn't think about it in that notion that, oh man, I think I might actually be in that same type of category as a gatekeeper, because people come to me and ask for opportunities. And I'm just thinking that, wow, when you set out a mission for yourself and you have this goal of change, be the change you want to become, or I think I said that right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking quick, but pretty much what I'm getting at is when you believe in yourself, when you believe in something, in a vision, you hold on to it. You keep it pushing, and you have to be relentless at it. And I've seen your face in many other places, but what are the more frequent social media apps that you will say, hey, YouTube, Instagram? I'm just throwing out examples. YouTube, Instagram. We're gonna go heavy here, and maybe on Threads, maybe one or two. Like, what's your frequency on all of them?
My focus is Instagram and now growing my YouTube presence, which is very small. I got 50 something thousand followers on Instagram. I got 158, I think, on YouTube subscribers. That's a brand new endeavor for me. My strategy really, which, if I'm being honest, I didn't start implementing a real strategy on socials until like this past year. I've been flirting with social media because I was always like, well, my book's going to blow me up. Oh, this TV show's going to blow me up. And then I learned like, oh no, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But my strategy is this. I'll be so candid about it. Anybody can copy it because it's really hard to pull off. My daily mission is 5 pieces of quality content every single day on Instagram and on YouTube. That's it. Literally just today, I told my coach, I was like, who I would also call my chief advisor, I was like, yo, I know I have, Instagram is like an appendage for me at this point. Like, I understand how to use Instagram. It's like a third limb at this point.
Yeah,
YouTube is new for me, but I'm getting a hang of it. TikTok does not inspire me right now. And it's not because of anything having to do with like the interface or the app itself. It just has everything to do with like, it just takes me more time to try to figure out what's going to click there versus what's going to click on Instagram. And so he's like, good, put it down. Focus on Instagram and YouTube. The point I'm trying to make to anybody is go deep first. That's what I've done on Instagram. And then go broad. That's my personal strategy. And use the tools and the environments that feel right for you. Like, figure out what you can figure out. What am I trying to say? I'm pretty good at dribbling a basketball, okay?
Yeah.
There are some people who are really good at dribbling a soccer ball. There are some people who are really good at throwing a baseball. Some people are really good at catching and throwing a football, right? Mm-hmm. Different tools, different body types, different mindsets. The same goes for these tools. Use the one that makes it feel like you are literally playing a piano, as if you are like a virtuoso pianist, because that's the thing what you have to achieve is volume. And so the easier it is for you to use that thing over and over as though it is an appendage of yours, the more you're going to start creating a volume of content, a volume of voice, and you're going to start getting like exponential gains from all the people who see you. Because like you said, you probably see my face multiple times a day already, right? There's some people who only see my face once a day because they're on YouTube. I need those people to see my face multiple times a day as well. I need them to hear my voice. I need them to say, I understand that guy. I know him. And now when something happens, I'm looking to him to tell me what he thinks, what he believes, what action he thinks I should take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The frequency is important. That when I started my first podcast, it's like some couple of years ago, it's ceased and desist. It's just that is no longer here. But I learned because I was just doing, let me just do one episode a week, and then they were like, I don't know if you want to do that, but you're just getting started, so just focus on it. Anyway, fast forward the tape. I've learned that you need to pump it out like multiple times out the week. Like, take the podcast, like, for example, this episode. I know you're going to do your thing with it, but for me, what I would generally do, right, is take an episode, and this is just for people who also want to do a podcast, right? I'll take an episode, kind of like Shannon Sharp, with his. Maybe this is bad timing to use his name as an example, so disregard. But let's just say you'll take a big podcast, an episode, take the episode, break it into shorts, and upload those shorts throughout the day, throughout the day, and throughout the week. And that's what's been helpful for me. And to your point, Chad, with the frequency, I learned about the importance of doing that because if you just do like once a week, people will forget. You got to be in their face about it. You got to make them remember who you are. And is it, and it's what the person is
Sorry, my dog just
saying.
walked in here. Get out, Penny. She just opened the freaking door. Get out. Get out. Out. Sorry.
You're good, man. I heard the reaction, but I couldn't. On my side, it sounded like something slammed on that.
No, she just jumped and opened the latch because she's crazy.
Surprise! I'm here.
She's a German Shepherd. I don't know. Do you work with German Shepherds in the Air
Oh
Force?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh
you
yeah.
already know. She knows how to open every door and like she knows what time it is. She's crazy.
Yeah, man, dude, German Shepherds are some of the smartest breeds out there.
Yeah,
We
they're
had a
legit.
Doberman. We've
Oh,
had a
nice.
Doberman at one point in time, dude. And we have a Dalmatian right now, but man,
Okay.
German Shepherds are awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite is a Doberman, and my wife she likes Rottweilers, and
I like Rots too. I like
me
Dobermans
too.
too. I've never known a Doberman well, but that one of my boys has a Rot that's so cool right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
man.
super protective, man. Super.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But to get back on track, thank you, Penny, for showing up. Got your money's worth with that one. But to kind of hop back on it. So when it comes to like these creative ideas, do you ever find yourself getting exhausted from continuously pumping out different types of content, or is it you have like a team that they pump ideas to you and you all bounce ideas off of each other? What does that look like for you?
First of all right, my team is so small. My team is basically me, my coach advisor, my assistant, and then I have a more distant advisor. I obviously I have like agents and stuff like that, but like I'm not in a daily communication brother with my agents. My agents call me when somebody calls for me. So my team is really the three of us. It is a small team. I don't have any sort of idea farm group. I'm gonna say a bunch about this because this is stuff I really like. So one way that I generate ideas is that I engage. You see that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the part that I think people might underrate about this whole machine is so much of it is built on my engagement. The fact that when people respond to me, I respond back. When people
Yeah.
comment, I respond back. When people take my surveys, I DM them. I ask them a follow-up question because they're people. And I am like this part, I don't know if you can recreate. Maybe you can try to find a way to program AI to do it for you. But like, I am genuinely curious about the person on the other end of the app.
Yeah.
That's natural. That's an element of my personality. That's not
Hmm.
You can't manufacture that. I don't think you can at least. And I see where some people hit their head in this process, right? Is they want to build the machine, but they don't actually care about the people that are in it. I can tell you have
Yeah.
a real curiosity about your guests. Some
Yeah.
people don't have that, and that it falls flat because you can feel there's no chemistry there. Now, where do I get ideas? I get ideas from the people who follow me. When they ask me good questions, I answer those questions in my reels without even mentioning that it was a question. Today, somebody asked me about how did I get signed to WME. My very next reel is, oh, that's a great reel. How did I get signed to William Morris Endeavor? Like this, but this is not how you're going to do it. You're going to do it like this. My cousins send me links every day. My sister sends me links every day. My best friends, it is a part of my nature and my personality that I am a fulcrum point for ideas. That's how I've always been my whole life. Is somebody's thinking about something weird, they pick up the phone and call me to be like, "Hey, dog," they're like, "Bruh, what do
Yeah.
you really think about this?" Like, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
well, because I can't. That's the part that's just all the mechanisms and tactics aside, like I can't get enough of it. You see me, you see how many surveys I post, right?
Oh yeah.
That's because I can't. I'm like, this is, you know how what it's like a pill. It's like I'm gonna just put it like this. It's like a drug that I wanted my whole life that I could never find. Was that I can look deeply into so many people's personalities at one time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got 50,000 something followers. People share my shit like crazy. I get all these responses, and then I can just look at human beings. I love that. That's in my nature. So my idea factory is me. And the thing that we're gonna have to figure out as we scale this business is, how do we continue? You know, do I get tired? Of course I do, because I work every day, as I imagine you probably do. And like, a part of that work is pick this phone up, blah, 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 caption, consume, talk to somebody, call somebody, do this. And it, you know, of course I get tired, but I think a thing that I really value in my own personality is like, tomorrow I'll wake up with a new idea every single day. Because how do you run out of ideas? I don't know. People ask me that question. They're like, do you ever run out of ideas? And I'm like, I don't think anybody ever runs out of ideas. If something happens in your life, you get an idea. Like that's how I see it. So
Yeah, you get this creative block. You reminded me, I was thinking what Kobe said, right? Kobe, I was listening to an interview that Kobe did, and Kobe Bryant, for those who don't know who I'm talking about. But like with Kobe, man, he rest his soul. He my all-time favorite athlete, man.
okay.
But with Kobe, he said something about when it comes to like these ideas that he comes up with. He said the world is his library, and that's the idea, right? Is people you can all, especially as a creative. It's one thing to just, oh, I have this idea, but if you're a creative, those ideas seemingly never shut off, especially if you decide to, you know what, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to expose myself to the world and see what comes to me. And
Yeah.
in that approach, it's like literally like millions of neurons going off, and you don't even know how to think, but you know, oh, I like that, I like that. So when it comes to books, right, and I see your book in the back, right, How to Sell Out, with books like How to Sell Out and with Black Magic, I know you've talked about them in the past on various different platforms, but what I want to ask is, there's a message, right? A specific message that you convey in what you write. And to me, what I took from what I took just take from your work is the importance of being true to yourself, right? Being able to truly, like, especially if you're a minority, and understanding that, you know, if they say it's created equal, it's really not. You got to fight three times, maybe four times as hard to get even half of what they have, you know, and that's I respect that about you. But overall, right, with your works, do you have any more that you work, any other books that you're working on that has a similar approach, or is it just, hey, I'm not working on anything right now? What's this looking like?
I'm not working on a book right now. And I'll tell you, like, I've been on the hook for a book for 8 years in a row. I sold my first book in 2017. It came out in 2021. I sold my second book the week before that book came out, both to Simon and Schuster, and that book came out what month? 3 months ago. So it feels like so much longer. So I'll tell you, I don't have a book in the works right now. What I am writing right now is, and I'm honestly going through the process of outlining it in a rigorous way, which I have never done before for pretty much anything I've ever written. I am now writing the movie that I would like to direct as my directorial debut. And, you know, it's been an interesting process because I give so much energy to what I am doing online right now. I give so much energy to creating this swirl of engagement, views, people coming to me and asking for things. You know, I have this Hacking Hollywood community that I manage now, and there's over 1,000 people in there, so I have to serve them every day. You know, and then at the end of the day, I also have Penny. I also have other people in my life. Like, did I lose you? Oh, you're
No, I'm right here.
frozen
I'm
for a
listening.
second. I would say most importantly, like, I have a girlfriend, I have a partner who I have to, like, you know, be a person with. You know what I mean? I can't just be like plugged into my devices all day and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, you know, I'm trying to be disciplined about every day at the end of the day, in the middle of the day, whenever I can, move that project one step forward. Because what I don't want to happen is to become a person who is so locked into the tactile building of this machine that I lose the joy that I feel in taking a creative risk by making something that is just meant to be art, you know?
Right.
And so while I'm not writing another book right now, I think my next book, I really like writing self-help books. And I think that's really what my first two books are in their own way. This one's sort of a collection of essays, but there is a lot of self-help in it. But I think my next book will probably, I don't even want to say what it'll probably be, but right now it's this, my business, and it's that movie. And that's it. If it doesn't fit into one of those two buckets right now, I got to say no, because how much time is there in a day, you know?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Yeah, man. Like just thinking about just the schedule. Like for me, and it might be similar to you. It just in like hearing about how your hustle looks like. But me, I got to get up early, man. Like and this is not daily. I don't want to paint the picture that I get up at 3 a.m. every morning because I don't.
Okay.
But like ideally, I'd like to wake up around like 3, sometimes 4 o'clock
Wow.
if I didn't stay up late with
Gotcha.
my children, because I also have 3 kids, a 10-year-old and twin boys that are
Wow.
sorry, a 10-year-old son and twin boys that are 3-year-olds, and my
Wow.
twins are rambunctious and they stay up freaking late. And more recently, they've been up to like midnight. So I also know that I got to go to my actual day job until I get to a point to where I don't no longer need that day job. So I try to find a balance, but I definitely commit. I'll make sure even during my lunchtime, right? Like in the mornings, I'll go do my content, make sure my content is right. Create different videos and then flush it out throughout the day, and getting motivated and hearing people and hearing what you're saying about, hey, 5 times is what you do. Like that's a real good number to shoot for, because if you can make it work and you have the content for it, you can get a good system in place. And building the machine is the hard part. Once you have the machine built, now you just keep that thing clean and make sure you check to make sure there's no rust or it's no corroded. There's nothing corroded about it. So I'll ask you just a couple more questions before I'll let you go. And this one specifically is about writing, because as a writer, who I'm working on a movie as well, but just going from writing a manuscript to a screenplay. To you, what's like the creative differences for you when it comes to those two formats?
The main difference, there's a couple. The two main differences are, in a book, you can tell someone what you were thinking. You can tell someone, what you were feeling. In a movie, it's action. It's almost all action, unless you incorporate a voiceover, which some movies do well and some movies do terribly. But a movie is telling somebody, and then they did this, and so they did this, and so they did that, and so they did this. A book, you can tell somebody, and so I thought this, so I felt this, so I did this, so then I tried to do this, but I accidentally ended up doing this. In a movie, it's action. And so there is, that actually is something that is an area of improvement for me in my screenwriting, is pace and momentum. There are times when I will have a habit to write something with too much momentum, because I'm trying to get to the place where I want it to get, and I know what that is in my head. And honestly, sometimes I rush it because I'm so excited to get to the completed work that I can now start to move through the system. Now I can start to take it to my agents, see if there's a producer out there who wants it. I get excited. I love to sell, and so I do get excited about selling. But the other thing with screenwriting is, because it is all action, because it is all visual, if you are a person with a loud internal monologue or dialogue, it's tempting to try to make dialogue the thing in the movie that is interesting. It's tempting to try to make dialogue, and now you're writing a stage play. Stage plays are about dialogue. It's a screenplay. The audience is there to watch a hero try to get something, not get it, not get it, not get it, and then get it. That's it. That's what they're there for. And they're there for the curve of what makes that happen. And a new conflict. They don't want to just watch two people talk. even though I do kind of like movies like that, most people are not
Yeah.
into that. And so that's kind of, those are the big differences for me.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And I wish you nothing but the best with that,
Thank you.
with your screenplay. Oh yeah, of course, of course. So I know I said two more questions, but one other question came, and now you had mentioned the people who you had an opportunity to have worked with. But I'm sure you have your mind open for whomever comes your way. But you have any particular people who you have your eyes on, like, man, I would really love to work with this person one day,
You
or
know,
these people.
uh, on the TV movie content, visual medium side, not as
Mhm.
much. I'm really enjoying, I'm really enjoying being available to people who need help,
Mhm.
as clients basically. I'm
Yeah.
also really enjoying, I like making my own stuff. I like putting my own face on the screen. Like that's my jam right now.
Mhm.
I've done, from the moment that I got into this until really the last couple years, I did plenty of amplifying other people's brands, plenty of writing stuff for other people so that they could go look like smart.
Right. Right.
I want to do it for myself now. Now, I have taken up music as a new endeavor, which I enjoy a
Mhm.
lot. And it's kind of like a new hobby because writing became my job. And on that side, there are definitely, Little Dragon, probably, honestly, everyone from like Little Dragon to, man, some of these people, like there was a time when I really would have wanted to make music with Kanye West. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Who am I thinking of? Tame Impala would be really cool. Like,
Hmm.
even like Gucci is one of my favorite artists ever. I
Gucci.
would love to make music with
Yeah.
Gucci, man. Big X the Plug right now. I would like
Uh-huh.
to make something with. Um, man, I mean, honestly, just anybody. Bon Iver. That would be really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But and not no, those are superstars. But like, I want to. This is my thing for collaboration in general. Let me just spit it very candidly. Like, and this podcast is a perfect example of that.
Hmm.
I am in a mode right now where creativity and production and distribution is at the forefront, which means if you're ready to like get in there and make something and put it out, then we're locked in. If you want
Hmm.
to sit on it for 2 months, if you want to hem and haw about when we're gonna make it and this and that, oh, does it need this and that? That's not the mode that I'm in right now. Once
Yeah.
this movie that I'm working on is written, I am going straight out to figure out, all right, who's gonna finance this? Who's going to
Yeah.
be my director of photography? I don't want to be one of those artists that has 20 things that I didn't make because they ended up on the cutting room floor or because I lost interest or whatever. Like, I want to live right on the edge of the inspiration, and I want to get that stuff to the people because I want to see them and feel them respond to it.
Hmm. Exactly. And I think that's exactly why this is happening because my mindset is exactly the same. It is about right now. I've already spent time in the past kind of dwelling on what I could do and what I couldn't do and kind of waiting and just taking my time. I'm like, no, man, like I went into it with every intention of being aggressive, not like ripping people's throats out, but like legitimately aggressive approach. Like
Yeah.
we need to, there's targets, time during the day that it has to get done. And the turnaround time has to be quick too. Because if it's not, things are going to stagger over each other and then eventually somebody's going to get burnt out and they could eventually be me. And I can't afford that. So
For
if
sure.
anything, let me just get all of this content and then I can spread it out if that's the case. Because right now, it's just a one man show. I mean, thankfully, with my books, I got an editor and a professional editor, and some beta readers. I got some people who's willing to like help me out with my screenplay as well. But I'm with you, man. So, last thing I'm gonna ask you real quick before I let you go, good
Sure.
sir. You've been wonderful, Chad. Man, really
Absolutely.
appreciate the mentorship and you coming on board.
Thank you.
So yeah, so for anybody who's wanting to maybe just not even jump into the entertainment business, but they just want to get their foot, they want to put their, I don't know, get their feet wet with being a creator. What is your advice to them to get started?
I give them a very specific challenge that is going to tell them whether or not they actually want to be in this industry because this is what this industry is. This is not like, I'm not faltering on this message. This is what it is. So if you want in, take this challenge. I want you to make something. I don't care if it is a video of yourself talking, a photo of something, a short film. I'm talking about 30 seconds, 20 seconds, an animation, something you make. Fuck it. If you want to make something with AI, I don't care. This is about you. This is about, are you built for this thing? I want you to make something and put it out on your social feed every single day for 10 days in a row. One thing, meaning you make it, you caption it, you get it, you make it look the way you want it to look, including, the aspect ratio, the color, the whatever, anything that makes you feel like you're ready to post it. If you don't want to do any of that stuff, just make it a blob. But this is an inside out process. Okay. This is about, can you feel confident and comfortable within yourself to feel inspired, turn that inspiration into something that someone else can engage with, and put that thing out into the world and be comfortable with yourself, with how that process goes, with how that engagement turns out, with whatever responses or comments or whatever come. If you can do that 10 days in a row, if you can stomach that, if you can even find a way to enjoy that, everything that follows is all bells and whistles and multipliers and navigating a maze of different inbound information, all this stuff. But that is the core of today. It is make something and publish it over and over and over again. If you can do that, you're in. If you can do that, you're in the business. That's it.
Hey, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Just repetition, repetition, repetition.
Yes, sir.
And don't quit. Like, you may not get any views. You may not receive any sort of feedback. It may be a ghost town with your content for a long time. But the key is being consistent. Like, for me, I've been in the mindset of being in the business. I started to pursue being an actor in 2008. And I went through a lot of different trial and error and decided, you know what, maybe I'd be better as a writer. Got out, joined the military, got a family, bang, 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 stepped completely away from it, and then it came back. Multiple times I ignored it, but it came back, and I decided to bite it, and it's been flowing. And so you're looking at 17 years of this just to get to this moment, and you really can't quit. The signs are always there. There's always going to be somebody or something that is supposed to remind you, if you stepped away from it, that, hey, come on back. This is where you're supposed to be. It's up to you though to go and decide to tackle it and get out there and create. Most people, they stay in their head and they don't ever put it out there. Just do it. I think it comes down to that. Just do it. See what happens. You might look foolish. That's okay. You got to be really comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're not, then you're just going to be in a mindset of, I could have did this. I wish I could have, could have, would have, should have. And I think that's a pretty bad space to live in, especially when you see people who doing what you could have done and you don't do it. So, hey, man, any closing remarks before I let you go, sir?
You mind if I give you some IRL feedback?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I think that the two things that are going to work so well for you, that are going to like translate for you all the time, are your energy, which is authentic and honest and passionate and real and palpable, and it jumps through the screen, and your your execution orientedness. You're just like, yo, we're gonna do this. We're gonna lock this in. Here's the date. Here's the link. I threw you a couple curveballs. I was like, I don't use email. You were like, fine. Here's the link. Fine. Like, you never once were like, we never hit like a point. Even this, I was having trouble getting on the link earlier because I was on the wrong, what's it called?
Server.
Something. Thank you. I was, whatever. I was on Internet Explorer. Should have been on Chrome. And you're like, wait, we're not losing this interview. Let's do this. You're like, that is undeniable about you. My only point of feedback for you at this juncture is consider getting contacts, because the glare on your glasses, I used to wear glasses too.
Oh,
the glare on your glasses, because the cameras on these apps want to see your eyeballs. They're scanning, they're searching for your eyes to determine how many people to put your video in front of, because they want to see your face, they want to see your eyes, your pupils specifically. So I would just give you the feedback, consider contacts if you're open to it. And I think otherwise, man, you're out of here. So,
Oh, I love that. Yeah. No,
yep,
I will go to that. I'll contact my optometrist right away.
there you go.
I will do that. No, thank you. I will start doing that. Man, thank you so much for that
No
feedback. And
doubt.
please don't go anywhere. I will talk to you just a couple of minutes afterwards. And
All right.
this has been a blessing. Hey, thank you all so much. I hope you all learned a lot from Chad Sanders. I will link his social media into the episode of this. This will be uploaded in its entirety. You can catch it on wherever you listen to audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or YouTube itself. You can go watch the full video on YouTube. Other than that, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day. And Chad, again, thank you so much for taking a moment out of your day through all the hiccups that came with me trying to get this squared away. I really appreciated your patience and appreciate your generosity and just your time, man. Thank you so much.
All day, man. Keep going. Love it.
Yes, sir. You as well. Hey, you all take care, and I'll catch you next time.